If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified of new videos.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special press conference for The War with Grandpa. I'm Heather Brooker. I'm an entertainment reporter for NBC Los Angeles, and I host the award-winning podcast, Motherhood in Hollywood. And I'm so thrilled to be chatting with two of the stars of the film today, Laura Marano and Oaks Fegley. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So I want to let everyone know I'm going to ask a couple of quick questions and then we're going to open it up to questions from our bloggers who are joining us here today. And you can drop those questions in the chat and I will call on you. You'll turn your video and audio on, ask your question, and then turn audio and video off and wait for the answer. So let's dive right in, you guys. Oaks, let's start with you. What was your reaction like when you found out you were going to be in a movie with Robert De Niro?
Very common question. It's definitely it was a great time. I mean, it was really interesting. But when I first heard that was what was going to happen, it was just definitely obviously a bit intimidating, but immediately was exciting and just something that sparked a lot of interest and a lot of passion for a new film and something new to work on. So definitely was immediately interested and intrigued and had that passion from the get-go.
So let's talk a little bit then about your character. He's at first, like we think, oh, they've got this sweet relationship, like him and his grandpa, they're just like best buddies. But then you throw down the gauntlet and really just start a massive prank war. Let's talk about some of those pranks. What were some of your favorites to do?
Peter just wants his room back, and he will not back down until he gets what he wants. So I think what the really interesting thing about the dynamic between both Peter and his grandfather is that they're really similar, and the reason they butt heads so much is because of that, and because they both don't want to back down. And obviously there's a lot of pranks that happen, and all of them kind of just lead to more chaos, and it's just a lot of fun, and was definitely a lot of fun to film all of those pranks and all those different things that were happening.
And now, Laura, you sort of represent, your character really represents this sort of misunderstanding that happens a lot between parents and their kids, especially moms and teen girls. I have a young daughter. She's 7 years old. I'm terrified when she becomes a teenager that we're going to be at war and battling a little bit because she's very strong-willed. Tell me about playing her and also playing opposite Uma Thurman.
Well, first, I just want to say, don't be scared. It's so funny. My mom said the same thing. My mom and dad, when they both had girls, they're like, is it going to be crazy during their teen years? And it was not. Maybe they'll say something different. I was so nervous and intimidated about working with Uma, especially because we really had to go head to head. It had to be, that kind of dynamic where I did not give in. I was always fighting back. And one scene in particular, we had like a little bit of a screaming match, and I was nervous about the scene, but it went super, super well, which was awesome. I think it's like you're saying, it's a dynamic that a lot of teens, not just girls, but teens in general, kind of resonate with when you are realizing you have different thoughts and different wants than what your parents want for you, and it's sometimes tough to have an actual conversation and communicate well with your parent, but I think that's always kind of the key.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Well, I know you guys, I don't know if you can see it, but there's lots of questions coming in from our press, our family press folks over here. So I want to get right to them so they have an opportunity to speak with you. Tanae Michelle, if you want to go ahead and click on your video and audio, and you can ask your question. So you have a question here for Oaks as Peter.
I think you did an amazing job playing Peter. You guys played a lot of pranks on each other in the film, and I just wanted to know, what was your favorite prank to film and why?
I think my favorite prank was probably when my Peter's grandfather takes all of the screws and hardware out of Peter's things in his room, and Peter's just in such shock and has no idea what's happening. It's just a really chaotic scene and was a lot of moving parts, but ultimately was a really fun scene to film. So that was probably my favorite overall prank.
Awesome. Okay, I want to head over to Megan Cooper. Megan has a question for both Laura and Oaks about filming in Atlanta. Go ahead.
Hi there. I'm an Atlanta native, so I'm dying to know. I know you guys wrapped filming this for a long time ago. It's been a while, but I'd love to know if you fell in love with anything within the area, any hot spots, places that you visited.
I absolutely adore the aquarium. And I think I stopped in Coca-Cola World as well, but I think the aquarium was my favorite thing. And me and a lot of the younger actors and I, we took just a nice trip to the aquarium, and it's a really awesome place, and that was probably one of my favorite places in Atlanta, if not Varsity Hot Dog
Maybe not.
was awesome as well. So yeah.
And Laura, what about you?
Yeah, it's funny. Coming from LA, it can be quite gray here, and I was so struck by how green and beautiful Atlanta was. So I went on a bunch of kind of nature walks, I guess. There's like a park, I cannot remember what it's called, but I spent so much time there. It was this just beautiful green oasis of, I think there was a waterfall somewhere. I will say I would get constantly confused because there are so many peach streets. There's like Peach Road, Peach Street, Peachtree Street, Peachtree Road, and I have a terrible sense of direction. So that was
a lot of peach themes going on in Georgia. We totally get that. All
That's
right.
hilarious.
I think someone from JPI, I think, has their audio on because I can hear somebody talking. So I just want to give you a heads up really quick about that. Also, all right, let's head over to Angie White. Angie has a great question about how much fun you guys were having. So Angie, if you want to pop on your video, there she is.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Laura and Oaks loved the movie. I am currently in a multi-generational household. My dad lives with us, and it's been wonderful, and thank God my kids have not fought with him. But I wanted to ask if there was any, the cast seemed like they were having so much fun. Did you guys have any like behind the scenes offset pranks on each other?
Good question.
We're not much of, I think, as we've figured out, because we've been asked this question actually a few times, we're not really pranksters ourselves. But there was definitely just a lot of, I think, fun and just general positive energy and attitude on set, but there wasn't really any, mischief occurring. But
yeah. I will say I'm kind of regretting it now, because for a movie that is so filled with pranks, we were really a prankless set completely, but there was still a lot of fun. I spent so much time with Poppy, who was 5 at the time, and her mom. And it was like, she's the spunkiest, funniest girl ever. So I feel like we had so many stories of she would make me laugh constantly.
So one question that is coming up a lot is everybody's wanting to know if there was a favorite type of prank that you did, or a favorite scene that you guys had to do. So Laura, I know you weren't directly involved with a lot of the pranks, but let's talk about your favorite scene to film.
Well, my favorite prank to watch when I saw the movie was the snake one. I think that was a very incredible and dangerous prank. But my favorite scene to do as an actress, and I had a bunch of the intimate scenes like that took place in the house, and I loved doing that screaming match with Uma, but I also loved even the scene with Poppy and I when we're like shushing each other on the bed. Again, she's just like the most adorable little girl. And so we had a lot of fun when we had those scenes together.
Awesome. Okay, I want to head on over to Robin from Mom the Magnificent. She has a question about you guys and your own personal relationship with your grandparents. So Robin, if you want to pop on camera and fire away.
Hi guys, congrats on such a great family-friendly film. My kids and I loved it. And so I want to know what's important to you guys when it comes to family time and relationships with your own grandparents.
I recently, being in quarantine, it's been difficult to just think about how scary it is for older people and for my grandparents. And I'm lucky enough to have all four grandparents and to have good relationships with all of them. And I think it's really made me make sure that I'm not taking those relationships for granted, because it's been a rough time. And being able to talk to my grandparents, I was able to luckily visit my grandparents in Colorado, and it was really nice to be able to see them and to make sure that they're doing all right. But yeah, it's definitely important for me. I think family time is important, especially during these times. Family can get quite warring, or it can get pretty aggressive, depending on the household. And I would say just trying to make sure that you can avoid that and enjoy each other's company as much as possible is always nice.
That's good advice. Laura, what about you?
Yeah, my all my grandparents have unfortunately passed away. My grandfather passed away actually right before I got this movie, which I felt like was this weird. It was like a weird moment. But with my parents and my sister and I, we really try to have moments throughout the week specifically that we just spend with each other. So we usually have these Sunday dinners, very Italian of us, where during the pandemic now we've been having them outside, still keeping them as safe as possible. But it's nice to have kind of face-to-face moments and have some sort of time that's designated just for family.
And there's a couple questions coming up as well. Did you guys read the book before you started filming?
I was made aware of the book after, I had heard of the book, but I had never read it until after I had read the script. And then I took a look at the book and was able to find it and read it. And I think it was really interesting to see the difference between the book and also the similarities. And I know that there's a lot of that when it comes to adapting something or whatever. And I think a really interesting story is that our young executive producer Trey was only like 11 or 12 and even younger when he read the book and introduced it to his father. And that's the reason this film even was made. And our producers then moved along and actually tried to make that a reality for Trey, and that became what this is, which is really awesome.
Totally. I very similar to Oaks. I knew about the book, but what I loved was that Trey, the youngest executive producer of all time, was so inspired by this book, loved this book so much, and not only that, knew that he wanted Robert De Niro to play the grandfather. Like it literally came from Trey. So obviously this book meant a lot to him, and it meant to a lot of people that he knew.
All right, I want to head on over to Sarah from Scoop Show. Sarah has a good question about advice you may have gotten on set. Sarah, if you want to pop your video on. There she is. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. Well, obviously the cast is insane. I mean, just iconic people, really. And I'd love to know, did they give you any like advice or like secrets of the trade, kind of like long-term success, even though you're both obviously super successful?
That is a good question. I want to know too.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny. I think what actually even made it more intimidating is that they didn't. Like, I think there was an expectation of just, you guys are going to do your part, we're going to do our part, which I think was also super cool to have, but incredibly intimidating. It was a really surreal experience in general, and I definitely felt like I wanted to be on my A game and not necessarily like go up as a fan, even though I was fangirling so hard throughout the whole shoot. So it felt more like we were peers and co-stars, which was bananas.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely agree, and say that I felt the same way. There was no real advice or anything. I don't think that's really, for the most part, I've never really worked with anybody who's, given me direct advice or anything like that.
Totally.
I feel like it's just more about everybody doing their part and learning from the way each other work. instead of, direct tips or advice or mementos or anything like that.
I love that. There's sort of like an expectation that you guys are already pros. You know what you're doing. You come in, you do your job, and yeah, that's fantastic. And then Sarah, if you want to take your video off, turn your video off. Perfect. Okay, let's head on over to Diane Sullivan. Diane has a question about advice you guys would give for some grandparents moving in with their grandchildren. So Diane, if you want to pop on your video, let's see. There she is. Hi, Diane.
Hi. So I was just curious, for all the grandpas out there, what advice would you give them if they have to move in with their grandchildren?
Wow, that's a difficult question. I would say, I think it's important that you give your kids, as well as the kids give the grandparents, the respect that there's a mutual respect that has to happen, especially if something like what's happening in the film is happening and somebody's taking over somebody else's room. That could be could cause some trouble. But I think, yeah, just generally respecting both sides is important. But yeah.
Yeah, I think also, I think just real talk, you talking to the grandparents, being like, it shouldn't be a pride thing. We're all family. I think sometimes there is a level of, especially with Ed in our movie, there's a level of pride of, I don't need to move anywhere back in with my family. I don't want to, inconvenience anyone. And I think at the end of the day, a beautiful thing about family is that we're all here for each other. And grandparents were parents once that were supporting completely their kids, who are now the parents supporting their kids, who also want to support their parents. So it's just, family dynamics are all about support and balance and give and take.
Okay, we have time for one last question.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Diane. One last question. Want to head over to Patty. Patty, if you want to click on your video. There we go. Fire away.
All right, guys. The movie was great, and it was something that I feel like is going to have a lasting impact. So my question is, 10 years from now, I know it feels like January was 10 years, but 10 years from now, what do you want kids who watch this movie now to remember about the message of the film?
I think that there's, just generally, there's a positivity to this film. And I think that positivity is something that is always important to try to keep with people. And a lot of people, have different ups and downs, and trying to stay positive can be very difficult. And especially in a time like this is now, and how negative the last couple of months have been, and you could even say years. It's been rough, and we are now in a time where this film hopefully can help some people get those smiles or laughter back in their lives, if they're missing that or whatever.
Yeah, I think hopefully something that people take 10 years from now, and hopefully something that they resonate with even right now, is conversation within family is the most important thing you can have. All of this really could have been avoided if Ed, Peter, everyone in the family just sat down and talked about, okay, this is the dynamic, this is what's happening, this is how I feel about it, this is how I feel about it. I think a lot of times in families, even with my character, Mia, and Uma's character, there's a lot of conversation that doesn't happen, and it's not easy to talk to your parents or your grandparents or even sometimes your siblings, but conversation is so needed in families, in life. And when you don't have that open communication, war can happen. So let's not have war happen.
That is a great a reminder. Please, let's not have war happen. And a perfect way to end this time that we have with you guys. Laura and Oaks, thank you so much. Everybody had such great questions. Want to thank our mom press that was here with us, our family press outlets. Quick reminder for you guys, we do have 2 more press conferences after this. So what you're going to do is check your email. You're going to head back to the hospitality room. And then from there, we will send you another link for our next press conference and our next roundtable. So Laura and Oaks, thank you guys so much. Congratulations on the film. The War with Grandpa opens in theaters on October 9th. We can't wait.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.